Alright, to start off this next rebuild video, I'm going to go ahead and remove the relay for this motor. I started thinking that should be hooked up to positive just constantly, or to a switch source. A lot of you commented the same thing, so I'm going to go ahead and try that. So I'll just take this park wire and move it down here to the accessory bus bar. I'll switch out that connector for a ring connector. Actually, let's just use a spade connector, but that'll be easier to get on and off if I need to move things around. Alright, the park wire is now hooked up to the same fuse as the high and low wiper switch, so that'll get constant power now. Get these diodes disconnected. I can actually use these for the fans, for the fan relays. I wonder if I could put this in a hose clamp. Cable clamp, I meant to say. And yeah, I think a 1-inch will work on that. Won't be able to clamp it down all the way, but I'd rather do that than use electrical tape. Never mind. That's not going to clamp down at all. I was using the original flasher, the steel one. This is an aftermarket LED flasher. It seems to be a little bit thicker than that one. I was using the stock one to size this up, but that is... I'm gonna need... I guess I could do something... Yeah, maybe just use a longer bolt. Could also use like a pipe clamp or like a conduit clamp. Clamp it like so or something. But we'll see what I got. Yeah, didn't have anything big enough, so we'll just make this 1-inch cable clamp work. Something like so. Got a nylon locking nut, so I won't be able to tighten that down. Not too much anyway. Yeah, that's a lot better. Actually, to leave it right about there, and then I can slide it out if I need to. Maybe get that just a little bit more snug. Yeah, much better. Alright, there's a little flasher holder. Just got the relay now, the one relay for the low oil alarm. There's low, or high I mean. Low does seem to work. Alright. So yeah, just needed constant power to that connection. That sounds so much better. Alright, awesome. That's figured out. That was way overcomplicated, that situation. I never dealt with a wiper motor before. So yeah, that just needs constant power, and then when it's in a certain position, it will run it around to where it needs to be. So yeah, got that figured out. Went ahead and drilled some holes on the e-brake. I'm gonna mount the switch in the future. Try and find me a switch with a way to attach a string or a little piece of cable. I'll attach it there, and that will give me an indicator on the dash when the e-brake is on. Pretty important since that's easy to forget. So yeah, we'll deal with that later. I'll make a little mounting bracket for a switch, and we'll attach a cable and a little spring. Could probably find a stock replacement to go here, but I thought this was kind of a cheap switch. I didn't really like it, and it's gonna be easy for my foot to catch that and break it, so I'm gonna make a nice sturdy switch there. Alright, picked up a cheap horn off eBay. Sounds like a good one. People are happy with it. It was only like $9. It's a dual tone. One horn is 410 hertz. The other is 510 hertz. So it's good and loud, people say, and that's what I want. The original horn is kind of weak and it didn't used to work, so I'm not sure if I'll ever have issues with that again. It's got a couple little mounting brackets there. That should work. I don't really trust these without any locking nuts or washers. So I'm gonna go put a dab or two of some Loctite on there. Got some and get this horn wire connected. Alright, got a couple splitters made for the ground and for positive. This horn doesn't have negative or positive marked, so I'm going to check real quick with the multimeter and make sure neither of these pins are grounded, or else we'll need to make sure to connect that correctly. Okay, none of those are grounded to the chassis of the horn. So there's no polarity. Just hook it up. Negative or ground. And then positive. Horns are connected. Pretty flimsy mounts. I might change that up later, but they'll work for now. Alright, let's give it a test. That's pretty loud, definitely louder than the stock horn. I'll be replacing this stuff soon. Thankfully it is not sticking too good, so it'll be easy to remove. Yeah, that's got a good tone to it. I like it. Probably be a little bit louder too once the truck's running, or once the RV is running, since that battery doesn't hold the charge too well. It's kind of old. It's actually really old for a battery. And yeah, it's probably not sitting at full voltage right now, because I've been using it to test stuff and run stuff, and it just doesn't hold a charge. Let's see here. Yeah. Let's get Yeah, 12.4 volts. So that'll get a little bit louder, I would think. I like them, they work. Alright, I picked up this handy connector kit. It's got a whole bunch of different sizes. 6-pin, 5-pin, 4-pin. I think it'll be real handy for a few different things, but for right now I just need to set up a connector for the gauge cluster. It's got its own connector on there, but it's kind of hard to remove, and I've got everything bundled together, so it's just going to be easier to put the connector on this end. And then I could just have one plug, actually one connector for these, and then a couple connectors for this positive and negative set of wires. There's also this connector, these lights, so I'll put, let's see here, we got 3, 6, 7, 8. So I'll use a 6-pin and a 2-pin, and just a couple regular quick disconnects on the positive and negative. And then I can pull this in and out more easily. There's going to be some revisions in the future, as well as cleaning things up and other things I'm going to do in behind the dash, so I want to be able to disconnect this easily and quickly. So let's try this out. It came with its own crimper, but it's the same one I already have, and it's meant for crimping insulated wire, not insulated wire with a little rubber boot or a little rubber seal. These back tabbies, and those are actually really big compared to the ones that are normally meant for these crimpers. So at a later time I might take a die grinder or burr bit and actually just grind these out. It's like a half, there's like 2 sizes on this crimper die. I think I'll grind out the bigger crimper area so it just crimps one side, because the ratcheting crimpers always will be able to crimp that a little bit tighter than what I'm going to use, which is this thing. I think that might do a good job of crimping these, and then I can use some needle noses to crimp on the little rubber boot. Probably could use this. I'm thinking that is just going to rip the boot if it's crimping that tight. I don't or maybe it will just keep the other side from crimping as tight as it should. So I'm just gonna try this thing. 6-pin and a 2-pin. Yeah, these are way too big to fit into this crimper, so that's, but if I grind these out at a later time when I have the time and just use the one side to crimp, I think that'd be, I think I can make my own custom tool out of that. Stripped these a while ago for testing. I'll need to cut those way back for the connectors. So let's get all these little boots on. So I'll also need to make sure these are all the same length. So we have a pretty short wire. I'll have to cut these back to, I'll have to cut all the wires back to the shortest wire. That way the plug doesn't have a bunch of wires poking out the side. It could be a little long. It's not like the butt splices where you need to have them really short. probably be good. Try the 18 to 20 to 18 gauge. Yeah, that worked pretty good. Nope. To crimp that with the smaller. The 24 to 22. There we go. That goes on like so. Maybe I could use the Alright, that works. So we'll put all the pins on one side. Alright, that didn't work out too bad. Get all the pins on one side, put the sockets on the other. Put these in, except maybe put the turns, left and right turns next to each other. Put the oil, pressure, coolant in. Let's make the first one the backlight. So that's the top. That's the top. So same as the other one. There you go. I felt that was a good click. All right, that's good. That's the backlight. Let's do another indicator light. So go ahead and do high beam. Backlight, high beam. Let's do the park lights. Left turn, right turn. There we go. So left, right turn, and then left turn. Fuel gauge. Let's go like that. And we just got the oil pressure and coolant temp. So this plug here. Hooks on the same side. On the bottom, I think. Right? Or are they on the top? Alright, now we got a couple easy plugs to just take apart. Two negative and positives, or two power connections there. And then we'll go make the connections behind the dash for those. And there's the sockets, or the female connector. Alright. Low pressure to low pressure. Coolant temp to coolant temp. I like it. Now let's get these done. Gonna need to make some connections for the turn signals. Left turn, right turn, the high beam needs a split. Needs a splitter on that. Fuel. That's right here. Definitely don't have any specific color code going on around here. Just using what I got. I'll label things if I have to, but that'll do that for that. These are going to turn signals. Just need to splice in. Got the backlight for the gauge pod, so that's connected to the park light switch. I got high beams that's spliced in with the high beam wire. This is, I'm pretty sure that's a wire that needs to be grounded, and that will turn on the parking brake light that's going down near the parking brake. Hook that up later as well. Left and right turns, and then the fuel level. Test on the 6-pin. That was looking pretty straight. Not straight enough. Very neat. Easy to take in and out. And then I need to hook up a couple of power wires. I also need to run those over to ground, and I'll just hook this one up to the accessory bus there. Alright, got the left and right turn signals spliced on. I don't really like using these, but I've run out of room for any more connectors on the switch, and I don't feel like doing any splicing. So they're quick and easy, and I already got them, so might as well use them. Hopefully this was not too big for the smaller wire here. Sometimes they will slip over the wire without cutting it and not making a connection, so I might have to redo that. But we'll find out. Also got the ground connected to the fuse block there. Got the positives to a positive wire going down to the accessory bus bar, so when the key is on, gauge pod should be powered. I think it's about ready for a test. Just need to hook up a load so the turn signals work. Alright, test a couple things here. Alright, park lights work. Shouldn't be too bright, doesn't look like. If they are, I might have to add a little dimmer switch or something somewhere. Maybe right there. To dim those. I'm also at a later time going to add some dash lighting to shine on the switches, but they're easy enough to find, so I'm not too worried about that right away. This should light up the park light when I touch it to ground. Wire. Oh, the key needs to be on for accessory. That's not gonna work until I turn the key on. Alright. Looking good so far. Love seeing that in there. Need to just drill some holes, put in some little bolts, or maybe just some self-tapping screws will work. Gotta wire up these and do that later. Gonna paint this here soon. I just got to take them back out. But yeah, that's good to see. Good to see that all coming together. I like it. Maybe this is enough load to work the turn signals. No. Oh, those will work. Yeah, just a single side won't be enough load. Just need to make sure I got the direct, I'm pretty sure I did, but I want to double check and make sure I got right to the right and left to the left. Oh yes, that is looking good. I'll put that bow tie back on when it's ready, when I'm done making messes. Oh, I like it. I like my new dash. Test the high beam light, indicator light. Where is it? Right there? Yep, got the high beam light. Alright, we should be able to see some gauge movement with the key here. Turn the lights. Alright, there we go. You can see voltage, temperature, low pressure, and it's showing. Boy, that tank's a lot fuller than I thought it would be. Keep adding gas. Maybe I've added more than I realize. I also got some turn signals hooked up. Let's make sure these are got the right direction hooked up. There's left and right quit working for some reason. The bulb might have burnt out. All right, right. Left, hazards, gauges all work. Freaking awesome. It's a pretty awesome little set of plugs there, and they all work. Everything works. Really happy with that. Oh, I haven't checked the park light yet. That'll be the last thing. All right, and we got a park brake. Just goes to ground. I am so happy right now. This is great. All the gauges are working. I love seeing that. Man, I almost got half a tank. How much have I been putting in there? I keep adding gas to freshen it up. I didn't think I was adding. I guess over time it must be. I guess it's just adding up. Wipers figured out. Gauge cluster is all done. It's got a couple, put those in after I paint. Got some of these weatherproof relays I'll use for the fan. For the fans, oil cooler fans up front. Alright, I got a relay attached for the oil cooler fan and one for the transmission cooler fan. They both have their common connections tied through a 10 amp fuse to battery positive. Normally open connections are connected to the fan positive. Negative connection is grounded. On both sides. Got one side of the coil is tied into positive as well to the fuse. They are activated by a negative connection to either a switch, which goes through the oil fan wire up to a switch that is grounded, or through the set of diodes that go to the radiator temperature switch. It's got 2 diodes. We're using the ones I tried using for the wiper motor. That wasn't necessary. So if I want to turn on just one fan, I can. I was kind of thinking that I might set it up so they just both come on at the same time, but there might be some instances where I just want to use the oil cooler, not the transmission fan, or vice versa. If it's a really cold day, I might not bother. I don't know, it might not be necessary to have them independently operated, but that's how they're set up. If I ever want to just cool down the engine, if it's a hot day and I'm sitting in traffic and not really moving, then I might not need the transmission fan. But more than likely I'll just turn them on both at the same time. Most of the time anyway. So those are all set up and ready to go, except for the switches. I just need to add 2 more switches and ground them and hook up the cooler fan connections, cooler fan wires. Alright, got a couple switches installed. They are connected to negative at the fuse block. And then we got the transmission and oil cooler fan relays connected up to each one. So these will be like a manual way to turn on the fans. The thermostat will turn them on also. So if I forget to flip, these will be more like a way to pre-cool down the oil, the transmission and the engine before like climbing a hill. So if I know I'm gonna climb a big steep hill, I can get these going beforehand instead of getting halfway up the hill waiting for the thermostat to kick in. But if the thermostat kicks on, they both turn on, and then I can individually turn them on from here. So let's give them a test. Open the doors in here, just in case I can't hear. Alright, there's the oil fan. Actually sounds really good. It's quiet. And the transmission fan. Alright. Cooler fans are hooked up. And I'm going to do a quick test on the thermostat, make sure that got a good connection. Since I spliced that in by using a couple of those crimp splicers that don't always make a good connection with these thinner wires. So let's double check, make sure that works. Just need to connect it to ground, so I've got a piece of wire here. Alright, I like it. It actually moves a bit of air. I can feel that back in here pretty quickly. That makes me happy. Might 2-liter coolant reservoir for 31 bucks. aluminum. And it actually looks pretty nice. A drain on the bottom. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work very good. Gonna need to move one of these down to the bottom so that the coolant can be drawn back into the radiator. Pretty sure there's not a tube on the inside or anything. But yeah, no, that's not bad for 31 bucks. Some nice TIG welding there. So I'll move one of these down, keep one up top for a overflow just in case, and a breather. I like the use of the O-rings. I'll do that. Depending on what side I put this on, I might actually have to move all of this over to here and then move the little indicator or the level tube over to the other side, but I think I could just loop the tube around where I want to put it. It's where I want to install the reservoir, because I think this is going to be on the left side if you're looking at the RV. Yeah, maybe I should wait and see. Make sure what side I want to put this on. let's see how good this works. Got a cheap $3.50 Harbor Freight automatic center punch. Did a center punch, and still pretty sharp. Yeah, seems to work pretty good actually. Time will tell how long it will last, but I'm happy with that. Yeah, that works good enough for me. I got a nicer one coming in the mail, but yeah, $3.50, that's not bad. I feel like the nicer ones will make these divots a little more pronounced, or a little bit deeper. But I think that'll work just fine. Yeah, I like that. Get these all pre-drilled, and I'll make a pilot hole in each of these spots, and then I'll open them up big enough for some bolts. Still sharp. Could even hit it a couple extra times to make that a bit deeper. You need to come up with a better option than using these emery cloths. Always leave little bits of lint. You give me like a parts cleaner or something. Ugh, that's an old can. Probably not gonna last too much longer. Or I'll get lucky. Just using some flat black. I don't have any gloss black, or I'd use that. Bolts are kind of long, but that's all I got. Might get some shorter ones another day, or just not worry about it. But this is looking good. I like it. Hose is looking kind of rough at this end, so I'm going to cut it. Put it back out. And then shorten it. So we'll use this piece at the top for the overflow or the vent. Won't need a hose clamp on that. All right, that's looking pretty dang nice. I like this reservoir. Mount turned out really good. Once the front cap is on, I'll probably have to use a funnel to fill this in the future, like I did for the oil, but that's all right. It's not too hard to do. Yeah, that is cool. I like that little tube indicator. Looks neat. Let's see, that's cold. That's probably about good for cold level. Yeah, that's a nice little reservoir kit. I love it. Looks fancy. That is neat. Looks good. That is one sweet reservoir. I like it. No leaks. Got the vent tube hanging off the side here. It's just kind of where it wants to naturally rest. But I guess that if it leaks out, like if this isn't big enough, I'm sure it is. It'll just trickle down the front and off the cooler there. I'm gonna go get a little piece of screen to shove in the end there. Keep things out of that tube. But that turned out awesome. I love that. Blocks the radiator a little bit, but that's okay. Still got room to breathe behind it.